In the silent darkness of early morning, when the rest of the city slept under the dim glow of streetlights, a man sat alone on the edge of his bed, staring at his shaking hands as if they were strangers to him. His breath was uneven, his heart beat quicker than normal, and his tired eyes were filled with something deeper than exhaustion fear. That moment, at 5:12 a.m., was when 38-year-old Ethan Hayes realized his life was falling apart faster than he could hold it together. The doctor's voice from the previous evening echoed mercilessly in his mind. If you don't change your lifestyle now, you won't make it to 40. Those words didn't just shake him, they shattered him. All the moments he had ignored, all the signs he had dismissed, stood in front of him like a mountain he had no strength left to climb. Before the story continues, if you believe in second chances, healing and kindness, please like, comment, share and subscribe to the channel. It truly helps us bring more stories that touch hearts. That morning, Ethan realized he had been living his life in the dark without ever noticing how little light was left around him. He had spent years glued to his computer screen, drowning in work, avoiding sleep, skipping meals, eating fast food, and patching emotional wounds with caffeine and cigarettes. Each unhealthy habit had built a wall around him so tall that he didn't even notice when the people he loved stopped climbing it. His wife left 2 years ago, taking their daughter with her, unable to watch him destroy himself bit by bit. Ethan didn't blame her. In some ways, losing them was the first silent warning. The second came when he collapsed at work and woke up in a hospital bed with wires attached to his chest. The third, perhaps the most brutal, came last night with the doctor's grave expression and a file full of blood test results that glowed red with danger. So there he was, sitting alone in a quiet apartment filled with the ghosts of memories he didn't know how to face. He ran a trembling hand across his face, realizing that he had aged so much faster than he should have. His back always hurt, his breath always felt too short, and his mind was constantly drowning in fog. He wondered how long it had been since he truly lived instead of merely existing. The idea of healthy habits wasn't something he ever took seriously. Life had always felt like a race toward deadlines, bills, survival. But now, confronted with the possibility of a shortened life, he felt an ache in his chest that was deeper than physical pain. He thought of his daughter, Mia, who had turned 12 last month. He had missed the birthday again. He'd imagined her blowing out candles, wishing for a father who would show up, a father who would care enough to live long enough to see her grow. That thought alone made his eyes sting with tears. For the first time in years, Ethan stood up with determination rather than routine. His legs were heavy, but his will was heavier. He walked to his kitchen, opened the cabinet where he kept instant noodles and greasy snacks, and slowly removed them, dumping them into a trash bag. The clattering of the packets echoed like the tearing apart of his old life. It felt symbolic, almost sacred. He knew throwing away junk food wouldn't fix everything, but it was a start. And for a broken man, a start was a miracle. The next morning, Ethan stepped outside for a walk, a simple walk that felt like punishment. His heart pounded, his legs burned, and sweat rolled down his forehead, but with each step, something inside him shifted. The world around him felt strangely alive. The crisp air carried a freshness he had forgotten existed. Birds sang lightly in the distance, and the sky glowed with the soft warmth of sunrise. That morning walk did something to him. It reminded him that even in suffering, life still whispered beauty. He just hadn't been listening. For weeks, Ethan pushed through the pain. The walks became slightly longer, the meals cleaner, the cigarettes fewer. But the real battle wasn't physical, it was emotional. Every night he sat alone at his table, eating vegetables and chicken instead of burgers and soda, wondering if it was already too late. Changing habits was hard, painfully hard, especially when your body had become addicted to destruction. Some days he wanted to quit. Some days he almost did. But then he'd remember Mia's smile, the doctor's warning, and the hollow silence of his empty apartment, and he would push himself one more day. Just one more day. One afternoon, while cleaning the apartment, Ethan found an old photo album tucked away in a drawer he hadn't opened in years. Inside were pictures of him holding newborn Mia, pictures of him and his wife hiking in the mountains before life became complicated, pictures of a younger man with bright eyes and a fearless smile. Looking at those photos felt like standing in front of a mirror that reflected a completely different life. It broke him, cracked him open from the inside, but it also gave him something. He had lost the belief that he could become that man again, or at least a better version of who he had become. He pressed the album to his chest and cried silently. Sometimes healing starts with tears, not strength. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into a slow transformation. His morning walks became jogs, his meals became purposeful, and he started sleeping earlier, waking earlier, and breathing easier. The headache slowly faded, the chest pain lessened, and the fog in his mind began to lift. He started journaling at night, writing down small victories: a 5-minute jog, a healthier breakfast, a full night of sleep. Each word he wrote felt like a brick placed carefully on the foundation of his new life. One morning, something unexpected happened. As he finished his jog, panting and sweating, he saw his reflection in a store window. He stopped. For the first time in years, he saw life in his own eyes. Not perfection, not recovery, but progress. And progress was something he hadn't felt in a long time. That simple reflection gave him a surge of motivation no doctor ever could. The greatest transformation, however, happened emotionally. With a clearer mind and healthier habits, Ethan found himself becoming kinder, calmer, and more patient. He realized that unhealthy habits weren't just destroying his body, they were destroying his sense of self. As he built discipline in his routines, he started rebuilding discipline in his heart. He contacted his ex-wife after months of hesitation, apologizing not to win her back but to take responsibility. It was an emotional conversation, filled with pauses and unspoken pain, but for the first time, she felt sincerity from him. She told him Mia missed him. Those words made his heart ache, but this time, the ache was hopeful. A month later, he met his daughter at a park. She looked taller, older, almost like time had sprinted while he had been standing still. He was nervous, but when she saw him, she ran toward him with a shy smile, and Ethan felt something inside him break open and blossom. She asked him why he looked different, happier, healthier. He wanted to say everything, but simply told her he was trying to change. She nodded softly, as if understanding more than he said. That moment became the real turning point. Changing for himself was powerful, but changing for someone he loved was transformative. As months passed, Ethan became a completely different person. He wasn't perfect, he still struggled, still slipped occasionally, still felt tempted by old habits. But he had learned something vital: healthy habits weren't about perfection, they were about persistence. They weren't about changing overnight, they were about changing slowly, deliberately, day by day. He had discovered that healing wasn't a straight path, it was a winding road full of setbacks and victories. But every step mattered, every breath mattered, every choice mattered. He began volunteering at a community center, helping others who struggled with stress, unhealthy lifestyles, and loneliness. Sharing his journey didn't just inspire others, it strengthened his own resolve. One evening, while writing in his journal, Ethan realized he was no longer afraid of dying young. Instead, he was excited about living long. That shift in perspective was the greatest achievement of his transformation. He understood now that healthy habits were not just routines, they were acts of self-love. They were small promises we make to ourselves, tiny seeds planted daily that eventually grow into a life worth living. Changing his habits had changed everything: his body, his mind, his relationships, his future. If this story touched your heart or reminded you of the power of second chances, please support this video by liking, sharing, and subscribing. It truly helps us continue telling stories that heal and inspire. Before we end, here's a special request. Comment below one healthy habit you want to start from today. Ethan's journey teaches us a simple truth: no matter how broken life feels, no matter how far you've fallen, no matter how deep the darkness seems, change is possible. Healing is possible. Even a single small habit can save a life, and sometimes that life might be your own. When the world feels heavy and your heart feels tired, remember that transformation begins with one brave decision, one step, one breath, one habit, and sometimes that is enough to change everything.